Hello, hello, good evening. It's Monica from Life is Art, and it's Wednesday. Let's create. This evening, we're going to be creating something that I've called Just Floating By. And it's an M fold card. And so that's a card that has a little bit of a surprise inside. Oh my gosh, my camera's all over the place. 1 minute. I literally have my camera like 8 inches above my table, and yet it's all wonkadoodle. My regular camera is being used for something else right now. Let me just see if I can get this tall adjusted without making you all completely nauseous. Well, why is it that such a weird angle? Well, it is what it is. We're going to work with it, and we're just going to go ahead and start our creating. I apologize that it is so weird. I'm not sure what the angle is that's happening here. And hopefully I don't bump into it 100 times while I'm working, because I don't think I can get it any closer to the table. Yeah. Okay, well, we've got some inks stacked up here, and we're going to be using the Submarine Life stamp set for this project, and we have used this before. It's a fun stamp set. It has this really cute submarine that we're going to be using today. It's got a lot of lovely sentiments. Happy birthday, floating by just to say hi, sending oceans of love, you are sublime, and hello. Then, of course, there's all sorts of graphics that you can use for an underwater look. So that's the stamp set that we're going to be using. And we're going to be using the Full of Life DSP for this project. And let's get started. So first off, we need to begin with the base for our card. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay. I see my mom is here. Hello, Mom. And so we're going to be starting with the base for our card. And we're going to be using this piece of cardstock that is 11 inches by 4 1/4, and I'm just double checking the name of the color, which is Balmy Blue, and that's one of the coordinating colors in the Full of Life DSP collection. Let me just grab my Simply Scored, and we're going to start out by lining it up here along the 11-inch side, and we're just going to score it in the center at 5 1/2. So 5 1/2, just like that. Pardon me, I'm still under the weather. My daughter missed a whole week of school. She was at school for 3 days and then missed a whole week. And so she's back at school this week, but Mom is still under the weather, of course. So we've scored it in the center, and we're going to fold it with the bump side to the inside. So this back side will have the bump. We're going to fold it in half and crease it down like so. And this card is going to be created on the horizontal. So we're going to be having our fold on the left, and it will end up being a standard size card of 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, because we're going horizontally or landscape. And let's start by adding a little bit of decoration to the inside of our card. Quite often we start with the outside, but this card is going to have surprise inside. So we need to start on the inside. From the Full of Life collection, I also pulled out a couple of pieces of this pattern paper, and it's the exact same piece, and I have cut it down, and flipped one around so that we have sort of a gradient of color going from blues through, shaded spruce and all the beautiful greens and down to the crushed curry and daffodil delight, and then continuing and back to the blues over here. So that's kind of a fun way of doing it. And so these pieces have been cut to 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And to create a little bit of drama underneath these pieces of pattern, I'm also going to be adding pieces of black cardstock. And these have been cut to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So first I'm going to attach my pattern paper to the black cardstock. And this will allow just a tiny little touch of the black showing all the way around the outside of that pattern. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just center that on the black cardstock. Now this card is going to end up with a few layers happening on it. And so we're not going to be using any dimensionals on the inside of the card because it's going to get bulky. Trust me. Now let's go ahead and center these on the Balmy Blue card base. One on the left side. Again, I'm keeping that blue in the upper left corner, and then it'll be in the lower right on this side. I think that makes the gradient look nicer. I could swivel it around and have them the same, but I think having the gradient go from blue to blue just has a nice flow. So we'll go ahead and attach that one there like that. And then we need to add that surprise inside element. And for that, we're going to make an M fold piece for the inside. So I've got another piece of black cardstock that has been cut to 11 inches by 1 inch. And I will post all the measurements when I post my photos. So this is 11 inches by 1 inch. I'm going to grab my scoring board again. We're going to be scoring down this 11-inch piece. And we're going to score at 2 3/4. Then at 5 1/2. And then finally at 8 1/4. So we'll go over those again. We scored at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. And then we can do some folding. First, we're going to fold on the center fold. We're going to fold it right in half. Make sure everything lines up nice and straight. Crease that down. And then these other two score lines, we're going to fold the other direction. So we're going to fold them back on themselves. And you'll see here in a second why we call it an M fold. So there, we folded it back on itself. Now we're going to flip it over and we're going to fold on this one, folding it back on itself. Technically, it's also an accordion fold. But when we open it up, it makes the letter M. If you wanted, you could also call it a W fold, but we're going to call it an M fold. M for Monica. Oh. So with our M fold, we're going to add some adhesive to these outside pieces of the M. So I'm going to straighten it out, and these last two panels on either side of the mounted fold are going to have some adhesive added to them. So let's add some adhesive. Like so. Just a couple strips. Could use liquid glue as well. And then we're going to bring back in our card base. And I'm going to take the adhesive off of this left side of the M. And I'm going to turn it over. And what I want to do is, let me just line it up here with the lines on the mat. And we're going to line it up 1.5 inches up from the bottom, but line it up with the black cardstock. And we'll just kind of have it come all the way across like that. Make sure it's straight so it's lining up at 1.5 inches over here as well. But we've just glued down that left side. This side is still free and clear. So we're going to fold it up like that. We'll remove the backing from the right side. This has got to be one of those easy peasy kind of mechanisms. And when it's all folded up like this, all we have to do is to take our card and close it. Just like that. And then when we open it, you can see we still have that M fold happening. And there we go. Now, be a little bit of a bump here in the center. That's fine. Nobody's ever going to display their card completely flat. They're going to display it on an angle because that will be the way that it will stand up the best. Okay, now we're going to add 4 panels onto this black cardstock mechanism. And those 4 panels are going to be made up of 4 pieces of crushed curry cardstock. And these are 2" by 2". So I have 4 of these. And then also 4 pieces of some of the pattern paper from the Full of Life collection. And they're actually taken off of the piece that's going to be used on the front of the card. So this is the back side of it. But there's kind of a gradient going on. And so I'm going to just sort of line up my pieces here in sort of light to dark, I guess, is how we're going. It's also going from sort of bluish to the more greenish, pretty peacock color. And we're going to add some stamping onto these. One of the things that I want to add are some little bubbles. So from our stamp set, the Submarine Life, you can see we have this little trio of bubbles. And I chose this particular pattern because it looks like water. And I'm going to use Blueberry Bushel ink for stamping on our little bubbles because that's one of the coordinating colors. So we're just going to ink this up. I'm going to move this a little closer to me. And let's see. Let's stamp some little bubbles. There's little bubbles on that one. We're going to ink it up again. And let's stamp some little bubbles down in this corner. We'll do them different every time, just for variety. And then we'll put some up at the top on this one. So to make these bubbles look different, all we have to do is turn our stamp around and just stamp away. Now, I didn't get that last one 100% stamped, but that's okay. It's the bubbles bursting. So we'll close that up. That was the Blueberry Bushel. And then I also want to bring in Memento ink. This is the Tuxedo black. Because what I want to do is to add a little bit of black on the edges of these. And to do that, I hold my paper at 90 degrees to my ink pad and just kind of give it a little rub like so. And that will add just the tiniest little black to the edge, kind of finishing it off. You don't always have to use a dauber or anything like that to add inks to your edges. And we'll just go around all of them. Last one. There we go. My nose is all stuffy. And I've been coughing all day. Whew. All right, let's add some adhesive to these. And we will stick them onto our pieces of crushed curry cardstock, which is a really pretty yellow. One of our coordinating colors. Are you enjoying this Full of Life DSP? I've used it for quite a few projects. I'm loving the vibrant colors in it, the vibrant patterns. So let's go ahead and we're going to center these onto our cardstock. I see Heather is watching. Good evening, Heather. There's one. And here's another. Trying to center them anyway. I'm working kind of far away from myself. More so than usual because of the way this camera got set up. My usual camera is in service elsewhere. So we're using a different one. There we go. And I forget every time that I use this one that it always sets itself up weird. I don't know what the difference is, but it is what it is. And there's our last one. All right, now we're going to add in some of the fun stamped images from this Submarine Life stamp set. We're going to be using the little crab, these starfish and little fish, and we're also going to use this little hello. And I've already gone ahead and stamped these and fussy cut them because we're going to be doing some more stamping and fussy cutting for the front of the card. So I had these ones ready. So we've got a little hello. We've got our little, and the hello was done in the blueberry bushel. Then we've got this cute little fishy here, and he was stamped in the granny apple green. We've got this little crab, and he was stamped using the pretty peacock. And then our little starfish with a snorkel was stamped with crushed curry. So let's go ahead and stick these onto our little panels here. Our little starfish, and then our little fishy fish. I think it's cute that they're sea creatures and they've got little snorkels. So sweet. And then the little crab, he's hanging out over here. And our little hello. If I can get the backing off. And we'll just put that in the center there like that. Now we can bring in our card base, and we are going to add these onto our black cardstock. So we need to add a little bit of adhesive just across the center of each. Try to line them up in the center of each panel and centered from top to bottom, like so. Gotta remember to put the adhesive in the center. Not such a big deal on the outside ones because those are already glued down flat. But these center ones, just gonna give this a little pop. Pop it down flat. Center it. Same height as the last one, hopefully. So these ones, we don't want to have our adhesive going over the black because we want it to be able to move. So we want to keep our adhesive towards the center. Like that. Take the backing off. So let me know in the comments, have you created one of these M-fold cards before? And if you did, what kinds of surprises inside did you use? That's one of our stash dash components. When we're rolling our dice, one of the styles of cards that we have is a surprise inside. So it's kind of a mystery which one people decide to do, because there's lots of ways to add a surprise inside of a card. And this is one of them. There's our little starfish. So there is the inside of our card, and as you can see, when it closes, all those panels fold up, and then when it's on display, they stand out like that with that fun M fold. Now, going back to the front, we're going to be adding a piece of black cardstock again, and then also a piece of the DSP from the Full of Life, and I really like this one. It's got the fun sort of rays coming out of the center, and I have cut it so that the center of our burst is a little bit towards the bottom. It's not exactly in the middle. Same sizes as the panels on the inside of the card, which makes it super easy. And then we're going to layer that right on the front of our card. Like that. And then we have some stamping to do. So I've got a piece of basic white, and we're going to go ahead and stamp out the submarine to go on the front. And I'm going to be using crushed curry for this. And you know, when I was making this earlier, that I just had to sing a song. Can you tell me what the song might be as I'm stamping this out? I'm sure you can guess. There's our beginning, and then we've got our propeller. Do you know what song we'll be singing while we're making this particular color of submarine? And then we've also got our little periscope here. I like calling it a snorkel, but it's a periscope. I'm going to have to come closer to myself so I can see what I'm doing. There's our little periscope. So cute. Yes, this afternoon I was singing, "We all live in a yellow submarine." Yep. And then, of course, we're going to do some fussy cutting. So let's rough cut it first. All the way around. Get rid of the excess cardstock. There we go. And then let's go ahead and fussy cut. We're going to go around. We're going to leave a halo of white, which is going to help it look nice and crisp against that background with all the radiant lines, which are also in white. And we're pivoting our paper, as you can see. Helps to make nice, smooth cut lines when you pivot your paper. It's one of those things that you just have to practice. And we're just going to go all the way around. Now you can buy dies that cut out the submarine, so you could absolutely do that. I'm going to go around the propeller. You can also cut out these pieces individually and then assemble them, which I think is how the dies work. But since I'm not using the dies, I can stamp it all together and cut it out all together. Now, because we're decorating the front of the card, we have the opportunity to use some dimensionals. So for attaching the submarine to my card, I'm going to do that to give it a little bit of a pop from that super fabulous DSP base. There we go. There's our little submarine. let's bring in our base. Let's bring in some dimensionals. Add those on here. Like that. We might even add a little bit on the propeller. So let's snip a little bit from the edge. There's 1 and 2. Now I already went ahead of time and I stamped using the Pretty Peacock the sort of water trail from behind, but I didn't stamp it all. I just stamped part of it and then fussy cut it out because I didn't need it to be as long as it is. And so I can take the backing off of this like that, have it ready to go. So I stamped it out with Pretty Peacock and trimmed it out. Take all those backings off. And now what I can do is I can have the 2 pieces in my hand and kind of get them lined up where I want them and then stick them both down. Sometimes that helps. I used to do that with stickers too. I'd have 2 or 3 stickers in my hand and kind of be manipulating them around to see where I want to stick them. And you gotta kind of have all the octopus fingers to do that sometimes. Now I've also got a piece of the basic white, and this has been cut to 2 inches by 5/8. And I'm going to bring in the sentiment that I'm going to use, which is floating by just to say hi. And I want to ink this up with some Granny Apple Green. So I've got this little Stampin' spot for that. If you subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, which there's a deal going on right now, you get Stampin' spots in with your subscription boxes, which is super fun because you get to try colors that you might not otherwise have. And a few of the kits have Stampin' spots in them as well. So let's add some dimensionals on here, on this end, and a little bit of adhesive. Oops. On this end, because we're going to layer this a little bit on top of our submarine. There we go. Floating by just to say hi. And then, of course, we're going to need some bling. So I have here the Iridescent Adhesive-backed discs. And these are actually very flat. So if you like to add a little bit of shine, but you don't want to add any bulk to your project, these work great for that. And so I'm going to use these sort of bluish greeny ones and add those to our card. Stick one there and one there. We're going to put maybe 5 on here. Let's add one over here. They look like they blend in, which is fine, but when you pick it up and move it around, you're going to see how the light catches these, and they're pretty fun. So let me just show you that. When you pick them up, the light just pops and shines on them and makes them all glittery and fun. So there we have it, our floating by just to say hi. We started out with our Balmy Blue cardstock. Then we added in our black cardstock and our DSP from the Full of Life collection, creating that gradient going all the way across the base of our card. We added in our M mechanism and our panels with our fun bubbles and stamped out images. And then, of course, on the front, we added in that fun DSP that has the rays in behind our submarine with our little bit of our trail going behind it, just floating by just to say hi. And then on the inside, we're saying hello. Now, asking yourself, where are we going to write in this card? And that's easy. We've got this whole back panel that we can write on. You could add a piece of basic white on there or white willow, but this is a light enough color you could write directly on there. And I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this card come together and are inspired to create an M card of your own. And if you do, be sure to take a photo of it, pop it in the comments when I post my photos, and then we can all see and be inspired by your artwork. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you again soon. Toodaloo! Bye! Oh, don't forget, today is free shipping day. Just a couple hours left. Bye!